everybody. This note presentation is on characterization and conflict, especially in regards to Okonkwo and his father. So I'm just going to walk you guys through this because not only does it help to develop both of those characters, but it's going to help you do your worksheet, which is a compare and contrast of those two characters. So this isn't very long, and it'll be something that you can use to look back and again use for your compare and contrast chart that you have to do for your today's work. All right, we've talked a lot about characterization throughout the year when we were together, and if you can remember, that is just a technique that authors use to develop a character. And we've talked about direct and indirect. And with the direct characterization, the author tells you specifically what they look like, how they act. And we know that, let's say, for example, Okonkwo, one thing that we do know that he's got a really bad temper. And so he directly tells you that. Indirect, the author builds that character through what they say, what they do, what they think, and the actions of Okonkwo when he beats his wife. That is definitely indirect because we know that he's super violent. And again, it's the actions that help to develop that characterization. And so in our novel that we have started to read, Achebe uses both of those techniques and does it well to develop the characters. So he doesn't want to just tell you about them. He wants to show you what it is that they are like. And already within the first 4 chapters of the book, there is a great development of what Okonkwo is like, and there are things that you admire about his character, and then there are those things that are a little bit questionable. Same thing with his father, Ononkwa, that you do kind of admire some of the things and the way that he was and his actions, but then there are also some of those things that are kind of disgraceful. So 2 things that you want to take a look at that will help you, or at least be reoccurring in some of the things that we're going to look at. And one is a motive. And it is a reoccurring image or a symbol, a particular type or subject that can unify particular artistic works. And so it's very similar to like a theme, but with a theme, it's kind of abstract, kind of like if we're talking about, like, say, the theme of friendship or the theme of love. It's an abstract idea, whereas a motive is more concrete. And we've read Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, and in it, he uses the motive of having a dream to tie those ideas that were in let's say, the Declaration of Independence, like truth, which is a really abstract idea, and ties it together with an image of people who were once at odds with each other coming and sitting together. And so like in the Declaration of Independence, where it's, the idea of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, again, those are all abstract ideas, but when you use them with images of people holding hands and walking together, that is more of a concrete idea. And so in our novel, we're going to see several of those things, and we'll work on those items later. A foil, we've talked about this when we read Antigone, is a character whose traits contrast with and therefore highlight another character's, or the traits of another character. So like we saw that with Antigone and Asmini. And I know in all of the classes, we looked at both of those characters and we had that really cool picture of both of them and how Antigone was very headstrong and she valued more of the laws of the gods, whereas Asmini, she seemed a little bit more wishy-washy, but she was more wanting to obey the laws of the land and not irritate her uncle King Creon. And so you're going to look at how this also plays into the role of Okonkwo and his father. So we know his father because if you looked at the notes that described or that kind of went over the intro of our characters in chapters 1 through 4, he was not someone that Okonkwo was proud of. He had never become a warrior because one of the things, he couldn't stand the sight of blood. And so you can't become a warrior. He's kind of wimpy. He never paid his debts, and he therefore became a huge drain on the community, including his family. And so rather than being an active contributor he was kind of a nuisance and a bother. His interests, unlike his son, whose son looks at those manly activities like wrestling and fighting and being a warrior, his father was more interested in creative things such as music and art, and reading and those types of things. And quite often, Okonkwo thought that those were more of a woman type thing rather than that manly idea that he always likes. Unfortunately, Okonkwo died poor, disgraced, and a coward in the eyes of many, including his son. And so, due to all of those things that are listed there, he has a negative image within the tribe and was an embarrassment to his family. And then Okonkwo, on the other hand, he felt that being macho and manly is extremely important. So things like the wrestling and being a warrior and showing his wives, their place by force is something that was really important to him. Because he was such a productive and good farmer, he becomes very wealthy. And those two things, those first two bullets, he really wants to pass those on to his sons. He is a great warrior. He is brave, but again, a little bit overly violent. He has that large collection of heads, which makes him well known for these types of things. And so all of the above, he too is well known within his tribe, but in a more positive way than his father. And so with those two slides, you should be able to look at and add your own spin on how both father and son are alike and how they are different. Okay, I'm also going to show you a video that will explain the assignments that you guys are going to do. Okay.